with the Sonic. Hey everybody. Yeah, I've got about 12 minutes or so. Yeah, just under 12 minutes before I have to head back to work for my last break. But anyway, see if I could try this a second time. You know, when I came out on the first video with the Sonic news and stuff for this week, and I talked about the newest arc called Genesis of a Hero, I speculated on what I kind of started to speculate on what it could be, and obviously I'm not the only one. A lot of people were wondering what this could be, and apparently more information has been announced thanks to SegaBits, thanks to places like SegaBits and all, that this indeed will be an origin story. Now this will be an origin story possibly similar, not really, but possibly similar to Sonic Genesis, which was released for the 20th, which was released by Archie Comics and Ian Flynn for the 20th anniversary. And it incorporated characters like Tails, Sally, Rhoda, and Antoine into the fold. And from what we understand, took place between Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles. Now with that said, we fast forward 5 more years, or 5 years later, and now we're getting another Genesis-like story. But this one apparently takes place between around Sonic 1. From what I can understand, from what I can see, in my opinion, it takes place during, and a little after Sonic 1. But the one thing I'm sure a lot of people worry about is how is this going to come about? Are we getting another Genesis wave, which will be the ending result of the Shadow World Crisis, and that's how Genesis of a Hero happens? Will it be a flashback story to where maybe Sonic, in a celebration or so, they reminisce of how Sonic starts reminiscing of how he and Eggman first met and how they first came to blows? Could it be that? I'm sure a lot of people are hoping it's a flashback story, because if it's another Genesis wave, because if it's the result of another Genesis wave, I don't think a lot of fans are going to particularly be too fond of that. So my best guess is it's going to be a flashback told during a big celebration. I mean, let's not forget, Sonic did hint towards the end of 283 that they were going to throw the biggest victory party there was. So I wouldn't be surprised if this origin story is part of that, as a bit of a flashback. I wouldn't be surprised by that. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. But the question is, how is this origin story going to come about? Is it going to be, is it going to be as a result of a flashback during a victory celebration? Is it going to be the result of a Genesis wave? We don't know. But there is the other safe bet too, that it's just a side story that is being mandatored by Sega. A lot of people don't like Sega's mandates. Some have said that the only positive thing so far about them is they have been loosening their grip on the classic style of the characters. It's mostly Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and all them. But with that said, it still just might be a mandatory anniversary issue. Now, because here's the deal. The Mega Drive series takes place in the gaming world of Sonic between 2 and 3 and Sonic CD. So we know that, apparently, is where it takes place. Now, there have been hints, apparently, of trying to tie maybe Mega Drive into the main continuity. But we don't know that. We don't totally know that for sure. But the best guess, I would assume, honestly, in my opinion, is this is going to is for Genesis of a Hero. Is hopefully it'll be some kind of a story that even if it is mandatory, takes place during a time, or like I said, takes place during a time that basically Sonic, is starting his feud, his rivalry with Eggman, and this is where he meets the Freedom Fighters. You might consider this sort of like a remake of the Sonic Genesis story arc. I know that sounds weird, but you got to remember, Sonic Genesis took place in the original timeline. This is a new altered timeline. So in this one, and as we have seen through flashbacks, courtesy of the comic itself, as we have seen in flashbacks, Sonic met the Freedom Fighters during his time, possibly around Sonic 1. Now, we don't know exactly what place around Sonic it it happened, but one could assume it might be interpreted, it might be interpreted in to the Genesis of a Hero. It might be. I'm not saying it won't, and I'm not saying it will, but I've got a strong feeling that you don't just redesign characters, give them origin stories, and then write them off and that's it. No. And you don't just make them part of the flashbacks with classic Sonic and all them. No. So my opinion is I truly believe this is what's going to happen. One, Genesis of a Hero will take place around Sonic 1. It's going to probably be taking place before and during Sonic 1. That's what I think is going to happen. Secondly, the Freedom Fighters are going to get introduced. They are. They're going to get introduced, possibly if they are introduced in this story, they're going to get introduced probably around the second or third issue. I truly believe that. Because you can't just have Sonic going after Eggman issue after issue and making it like it's a level, every issue is like a level of the game. It doesn't work that way. If you're going to expand on the origin, you got to make it a true origin story. You got to include everything, and that even means meeting the Freedom Fighters in this timeline. So that's what I definitely think they're going to come into play. And this is going to definitely take place after Eggman corrupts the kingdom, does his coup and all that. So it's going to probably take place shortly after this. After that. Shortly after the coup. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Freedom Fighters involved, like I said, possibly within the second or third issue of the 4-part arc. Because like I said, you don't include them in these flashbacks and all that of meeting Sonic if you're not going to have them involved, if you're not going to show how they exactly met in the first place. And again, that's what I feel is going to happen. I know in a sense this is going to be sort of a mandatory story arc that they're doing. We may not like the mandatory sometimes, even if in return they're loosening the grips on a few things. But I can say this. Mandatory or not, a few things have to happen, and I think will happen. One, the Freedom Fighters are going to be a part of this, probably within the second or third issue. It's going to take place shortly after the coup in this timeline, and it's basically going to expand more on how Sonic came to be who he is, and how it happens might be through a flashback, might just be a mandatory origin story they have to do on the side because of the anniversary, or it might just be a result of another Genesis wave. But you know what? My safe bet is it's going to be a flashback, possibly being talked about during a victory celebration. So we'll just have to wait and see, but that's the speculation and thoughts and update on the Genesis of a Hero arc, which takes place after Shattered World. Hopefully we'll get a synopsis, maybe we'll get more information, and pray to God Ian Flynn doesn't screw this up. Let me know what you guys think down below.